Good evening. I'd like to call our meeting to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Valla?
Here.
Mr. Lyons?
Here.
Add a new board member. Mr. Fuquan?
Here.
Mr. Rummel?
Here.
Ms. Cotton? Here. Mr. Wood?
Here.
Ms. Tyler?
I'm sorry, here. Thank you. All right. Looks like we're gonna, Ms. Dickinson is gonna lead us in the pledge. Anybody would like to?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Laura. Okay. Ms. Bogdan for the vision.
District 91 Vision Statement. Forest Park Public School District will be acknowledged by all as a safe, nurturing, and diverse learning community that establishes the highest standards for innovation and continuous improvements to achieve excellence and global citizenship for each individual child.
Thank you. Ms. Doolin.
Mission statement. Our mission, in partnership with Home and Community, is to educate each individual child in a safe and nurturing environment. We will foster respect and self-worth, teach skills relevant to the contemporary life, and promote academic success and creative expression. We will encourage an appreciation of the rich cultural diversity of our community and instill a sense of wonder for the future to enable our students to become lifelong learners and responsible citizens of the world.
Thank you. Ms. Suarez.
Equity imperative. Recognizing that systematic bias has plagued our educational system, we commit to nurturing dialogue around all issues of inequity, including culture, race, faith, socioeconomic status, gender identity, sexual orientation, and different ability as they pertain to classroom practices, school and district structures, and policies and procedures. We support actions removing barriers to opportunities that allow children to reach their full potential.
Thank you. Okay. Number 4, consent agenda items. Before we vote, is there anything anyone would like taken off of our consent agenda items? Okay. May I have a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Thanks. A roll call, please.
Ms. Valla? Aye. Mr. Lyons?
Aye.
Mr. Rummel?
Aye.
Mr. Brooks?
Aye.
Ms. Cotton? Aye. Ms. Wood?
Aye.
Ms. Tyler?
Aye. All right, we've approved our consent agenda. Is there any correspondence?
There are no correspondence.
Okay, thank you. Any matters of consideration from the public? I don't think we have any. Is there anyone that would like to make a public statement? I'm making deep eye contact. Okay, thanks for coming, everybody. Okay, we will move on from that. Number 7, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Alvarez?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I will start with our recognitions. So our district office online registration support and just registration in general. During the summer, we had office hours set for families to come register in the evenings. Bonnie Doolin, Nudie Suseta Ramos, and Jeanette Barnes stayed until 8 p.m. these evenings to make sure any of our families that came saw a person in person and was there to answer any questions regarding registration. We also want to thank Jennifer Leonard, Alicia Ragland, Megan Dickel, Virginia Puzvek, and Kelly Barkulis as they made our registration day on August 9th a success. This was an all-day effort that lasted until 8 p.m. They have been instrumental in reaching out to families to make sure they are registered for the coming school year. Moving on to Kate Nessinger. During our PTO mixer, families utilized our child care services at Garfield Elementary. Kate Nessinger stayed with 8 of our PTO children while their parents got to mingle at the mixer. Thank you to Kate for stepping in and supporting our PTO. And for our interview team, we have continued to interview, and we are grateful to Susan Bogdan, Katie Bell, Angela Pitaro, and David McHale for our search for clinicians and Assistant Director of Student Services. These are still ongoing. Priority number 1 with learning and achievement. For enrollment, we currently have 474 students enrolled. 74 were enrolled just yesterday during our registration day. Betsy Ross has 114 students enrolled, Garfield 155, Field Stevenson 128, and Forest Park Middle School 77. Garfield numbers will change tomorrow due to screenings that will happen. Any questions about enrollment?
Can you say the numbers one more time?
Sure.
Thanks.
Total of 474.
Yep.
Betsy Ross, 114.
Okay.
Garfield, 155.
Okay.
Field Stevenson, 128.
Okay.
And Forest Park Middle School, 77.
Great. Thank you.
Dr. Alvarez?
Yes.
One quick question. Do we usually see any activity in terms of registration after, like now, in the last week or two before we start?
Actually, around this time last year, we were at 74 children enrolled. So this actually is I'm excited to see this number at 474.
Thank you.
Yeah. We're hoping that we're going to get some more before school starts. We have about a week and a half left. So please register your child. We're here waiting for you. DLE stands for District Level Ensemble. DLE Admin Retreat was on July 19th and July 20th. We held a 2-day retreat with both the district level administrators and academic coaches. The day was spent reviewing successes from last school year, where we want to be in 2026, and what is in the middle to bridge this year to the next year. We also took time to get to know one another, so had a little bit of fun as well, doing lip syncing and also going to our neighborhood here and I'm trying to remember what that was called. Escape room. Thank you. The escape room. And then we also worked on district and school improvement plans. These days were spent fine-tuning our planning as we prepared for our staff and students and families arriving on August 22nd. Our academic coaches have been planning for the year to come. They are prepared to meet with school leadership ensembles and work with administrators as they begin to coach in our classrooms. Mr. Edler has been meeting with them each and every day as they plan their scope and sequence for each of the schools they will be visiting and teachers. Any questions about any of the retreat or the academic coaches? Our partnership with Forest Park Police Department. We have a great resource in the Forest Park with our Forest Park Police Department. We want our children and staff to feel safe, and that is why it's important that our police officers are going to be coming and attending our schools whenever they can. They were mentioning they would be coming in weekly. Hopefully our children get to know their names. It is more about children feeling a bit safer, getting to know their names, seeing them, and as well as them getting to know the floor plans of our schools.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
When you say coming in to meet, I don't know if you said the to meet part, excuse me. What do you mean though? In what capacity? Like an assembly or a walk around?
No, they'll just do walk-arounds. They'll be in only for about 5 minutes. Kind of come on in. We've already spoken to our administrators about it. They will be coming in uniform. They just want to get to see kind of the layout, get to see how children walk around in the school buildings. They won't stay for more than 5 minutes, and then kind of walk around outside as well.
Okay. Will it always be the same officer or officers?
Not necessarily, but we did request that, saying that as much as possible, if we could have the same officers, that way children get to know who they are.
Sure.
And get to know the officers' names.
Okay.
Hey, quick question.
Sure.
Has that been communicated to the students, particularly at the middle school, so they can expect to see officers walking through the hallways?
Not as of yet. So that will happen once the students arrive. It has been communicated to our administrators, who will share that on August 22nd with our staff, so they know. And then once the children start, we will then start letting them know that police officers will be coming around, just saying hello, getting to know them.
Dr. Alvarez, sorry, one more question. Do you know how many officers will be coming at a time?
That was something that we were mentioning. We were hoping not to have too many, 2 at the most. We did mention that to our Chief Gross. And just really quick, Chief Gross was saying he was very excited about this partnership. He felt that last year was the first time, because of vaccination, that he had never visited in all his years some of the schools. And so he's pretty excited about our police officers visiting our schools.
Okay.
All right. Moving on to Mr. David McHale, who is going to be introducing his 100-day entry plan. You might need to turn that on.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Dr. Alvarez, community members. The purpose of my 100-day plan was to really get a better understanding of the district and what are the needs of the district. As of this moment, I do have some priority areas, and in those priority areas, there has been staffing would have been my first priority. But based on some of the strategic maneuvers that we've done thus far, the first one has already been taken care of. So there were 2 LBS 1 vacancies, one for EC and one for 4th grade. But based on some strategic maneuvers, we no longer will need those 2 individuals. I will still need 2 speech paths, 1 occupational therapist, and 1 assistant director of student services. The second priority was to make sure that our kiddos coming into the building have staff and a safe environment for them to walk in through our doors. The third piece is preparing for our Teachers Institute Day with professional learning, talking about a least restrictive environment. So I am planning on the 22nd doing a presentation for all staff to discuss least restrictive environment. My entry plan comes in 3 different phases. They are going to be a little bit of an overlap in each of those phases. The first one was July and August. Phase 2 is in August, and then phase 3 is August through November. So phase 1 is talking about my introduction to the community, my introduction to staff, and really getting to know individuals in the area. So talking through, I was able to meet with several of our stakeholders already. I did meet with a couple of board members, which was a great incentive as well. But I met with some of our social workers. I met with some teachers. It's been great being at the district office, really having the people come into and me just pulling them aside saying, hey, do you have a few minutes to chat? So that's been fantastic. But the major part is really collecting the data that I need in order for me to just understand. So look, listen, and learn about the district, learn about Forest Park, learn about the way that things have been working, and kind of going through there. I'm going to be making sure that I engage with all stakeholders involved. Making sense of the information or making sense of the data is on the next slide. Going through those dialogues, going through those interactions, learning all that I can through these interactions so that I can analyze all and collaborate, especially the tiers of MTSS, working with my colleague, the Director of Learning Innovation. Is that correct? Awesome. Working with my colleague to make sure that the tiers of intervention are being utilized most effectively. Utilizing our FAST bridge as the universal screener, and then from there figuring out which intervention tools are the best tools to use in which tiered intervention. I have a sample pyramid chart up on the projector there, talking through Tier 1, universal screener, going through Tier 2, which is our targeted youth, and then Tier 3, which is the more intensive interventions. As you can see, there's a little bit of layover between each of the tiers because there isn't a hard and stop for each tier to start and stop. So it is a flow, and as we move forward, we will be able to utilize more and more interventions and intensify those interventions to make sure that every kiddo is getting the services that they would need. Engagement and strategic planning. So as I organize the quantitative and qualitative data that I've collected, I will be conducting a long-term plan to be shared with you and all other stakeholders that are involved. So these 90 days or 100 days that I'm working through, I'm gathering the information, I'm working through the plan, I'm creating engaging all of the stakeholders and creating that strategic plan to work off of a long-term goal. Lastly, the culmination of the plan. So as I go through Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3, I will team up with Dr. Alvarez and all of the rest of the stakeholders to make sure that the entry plan is executed and executed efficiently. I plan on regularly meeting and communicating with my progress through either the website, through social media, mailings, robocalls, and working with our tech team to make sure that that goes through appropriately. And then again, once that plan has concluded, a new work plan will be conducted and then shared as well and drafted through the remainder of my first year. I look forward to a amazing year and ongoing collaboration with all stakeholders involved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
No, ma'am.
Great, thank you. So my question is, in the first slide, second slide, under priority areas, you talk about facilities. I'll read the bullet. Ensuring that the facilities are ready for returning students and staff, and you said that, and also like just making sure that it was safe. Is there anything that you're keeping an eye on, concerned about, like anything like that?
No,
Okay.
it's more of making sure that the classrooms have all of the supplies and priorities for our teachers to make sure that
Yeah.
they are going through their P cards appropriately, gathering the things that they need in order for them to make sure that they have the supplies ready
Sure.
for the kids to get started.
Okay. And I don't want to make an assumption, but I'm guessing that your plan, your work plan will involve goals from students who receive additional services Tier 3 to students who are in Tier 1 and also receive additional services on the other, across the spectrum. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And along with that would be emergent bilinguals as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for saying that. Does anybody else have any questions? I'm really excited. Congratulations on your 6-day-old baby.
Thank you very much.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to move on to our second priority of family and community engagement, our PTO mixer. Our Forest Park PTO met together for a social hour on July 26, 2022. This allowed interested parents in the district to get to know one another before school starts. The Forest Park PTO will be meeting monthly, alternating locations with virtual options. If any parents are interested in being part of our Forest Park PTO, please email pto@fpsd91.org. Transportation. As of August 10th, we've had 7 families sign up for transportation services. In the past week, 30 more families signed up. Keeping in mind some are siblings, the survey closes tomorrow, Friday, August 12th, 2022. We strongly encourage families to take advantage of the free transportation service we are offering by registering for it. Next week, families will receive a confirmation email regarding their child signing up for transportation services. Crossing guards.
I have a question.
Yes.
So is there no other time to sign up? So let's say like childcare plans change during the year. This is the only time you can sign up for it?
We're really pushing for them to sign up right now, but I'm not going to say no.
Okay.
Crossing guards. There are 6 corners designated for crossing guards with 3 openings. Those that are filled are Randolph and Circle, Jackson and Circle, Jackson and Thomas, Jackson and Des Plaines, Harvard and Circle, Roosevelt and Circle. There are 3 remaining corners that need a crossing guard. Hannah and Jackson, Harrison and Circle, and Harvard and Beloit. The Forest Park Police Department is seeking qualified individuals for these corners as crossing guards. This position requires flexible hours during days when schools are in session. A background investigation and drug screening will be conducted prior to consideration for the position. Applications are available at Village Hall, 517 Des Plaines Avenue, or online at www.forestpark.net, and should be returned to Vanessa Moritz, who is the HR Director at Village Hall. For additional information, you could also contact Dora Murphy at 708-615-6223, or write dmurphy@forestpark.net. The current pay per hour is $16.73. It truly is a great position for anyone who lives close, maybe retired, or just wants to have extra money. We truly need crossing guards for these locations so that our children are safe as they go to school.
Do we have a plan if we're, I think that we're going to be able to fill, but if we are not able to find enough crossing guards, do we have a plan?
I know that we had a meeting, the police department's really working hard to make sure it gets filled,
Yeah.
but as of right now, they have other ideas in mind that I think that would be up to them to kind of share
Okay.
of how to do that, but we have put this through social media. I know I've tweeted it as well. I put it through LinkedIn. We are posting as well for it. We're just keeping our fingers crossed.
Okay. Thank you.
And then letter of attestation from Cosmopolis. The Forest Park School District is now walking the path of increased cybersecurity. They have a low incidence of actionable vulnerabilities, both externally and internally. We have a deeper understanding of the attack surface and how a malicious attacker can build an attack profile of our organization. And there are some technical areas to improve in the areas of equipment age and viability, security information, event logging, and the segmentation of network subnets. There are also some opportunities to improve in the area of cybersecurity, documentation, and systems configuration. That is something that our tech department is making sure that we're just getting updated all the time. And I know that was something that one of our board members really wanted to know more about. Talent recruitment and development, our third priority for hiring. The district has been interviewing for an assistant director of student services, occupational therapists, speech pathologists, and instructional assistants. This is something that you just heard from Mr. McHale. These have been ongoing, and we are working to finalize these interviews, hopefully by next week. Exit interviews. David McHale and I have been conducting exit interviews. Some trends coming from the exit interviews are individuals choosing to just stay home. Pandemic is part of that. And then others choosing to change a career and not be in education and maybe go into the corporate world. Any questions on talent recruitment and development? Okay. We have nothing for FOIA.
Okay. Did I hear something? No. Oh, okay. Okay, great. Thank you, Dr. Alvarez. Let's go to number 8, committee reports. 8, teacher negotiations. We're all set. We voted last month, so we're good to go. Board policy. We need to change this. Is there any update on policy? We have to get rid of, not get rid of, we need to change. Sorry, I have an agenda that says Ms. Cross. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so we will have a first reading coming up that we'll be discussing a little later tonight, but we have nothing else at this time, but we will be meeting to discuss those in the near future.
Got it, thank you. For finance, John, do you want to just give a tiny update based off of did you see the email from Dr. Hubbard?
Yeah, I saw it. We probably need to schedule a time within the next 30 to 40 days to meet.
Yeah, I think the goal is that we're going to try to meet quarterly, which I'm looking forward to. So Yeah, we'll get something on the calendar in the next
Yeah.
30 to 45 days, right after probably the budget hearing. Okie dokie. Engagement. Ms. Fallow?
Yeah, we had our meeting via email this month, so we did a big email chain
I didn't mean to leave you out.
and talked through where we see the committee going and what we see the committee's purpose to be. We have kind of determined what we're going to do in the next couple of weeks. Monique and I are going to sit down and hammer out a couple details on that. We are going to focus on, rather than bringing the community to the board, taking the board to the community. We are going to start a protocol of monthly, like, office hours, for lack of a better term, where we can, make ourselves available to community members. They can come in and chat with us, clearly not about, like, sensitive material, but they can come and chat and meet us and, ask how things are going. We're also going to go ahead and start a calendar of events that's a shared document, and we get everybody signed up so we can have like 2 board members at every event and have ourselves represented at all of the school things, and then further outreach into the community. We also kind of just said that with Nudi's doing such a phenomenal job as the face, the family and community engagement human, that we have to re-examine some of the goals of the community, or the goals of the committee, and we did that. And we're gonna, again, Monique and I are gonna sit down and hammer out some more details, not next week, but the week of the 22nd, or the week after that is what we're aiming for.
Okay, thanks. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, and all that is once we get together and we meet, we'll send it out to the board to really get realistic what everyone's time commitment is, and then go forward with the plan, because we can't plan to do one-on-ones if people can't commit to it. We don't want to overcommit anyone, so we'll do that, send out an email, figure it out, and then present what the actual plan will be.
Okay, thanks, you two. Appreciate it. Superintendent evaluation. Either of you have an update?
We don't have anything right now, but I will send Mr. Lyons an email so we can get together and chat about our next one.
Is part of that figuring out if we're going to use the same instrument again? Kind of reflecting on how it went this year?
Yeah, I think that's part of our discussion that we should probably have, but I think based on comments that we discussed, kind of maybe have to kind of go with the same process since we've already started that, or? I mean, that's what I recall from our last conversation, so I guess it's open for discussion and more for the board, I guess.
Yeah, you guys can amend.
Yeah.
Maybe come up with a couple of options. Give us some things to chew on for a little bit. Okay, thanks. PPC, probably not meeting.
We do not have an August meeting.
Okay. My gosh, we're back to school soon. CAC.
There is going to be they're having a celebration August 17th, just to celebrate kind of the end of the school year, get together. They're doing it in person. They're kind of just celebrating their hard work that they did, discussing some recruitment strategies for the year and this year's timeline. It's next week, Wednesday, and then September 7th, there's going to be, the district is hosting a CAC informational meeting. And that one, just to learn about the CAC, and that one will be virtual.
Okay.
More information about this September 7th.
Sure. I know you were the alternate, so you may not know this. Maybe Dr. A knows too, since Nudi's isn't here. Do you recall how many members we wound up having on the CAC? $16? We have a 16, okay. 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 16 to 20-ish. Okay. Okay, thanks. I was just curious. Thank you, Ms. P. Cole. Appreciate that. All right, good. I'm excited to see, to get that started again. And IASB delegate.
There is nothing at this time. Just so everybody knows, it's only at the conference in November, so I really don't have anything to say until after that, but
I know.
nothing at this time.
I never want to leave you off, but I know. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move on. Number 9, items for discussion. I'll go ahead and get started. So obviously, we had a big spring with our public hearings and our decision to eventually close down Grant White to students and shift them over to Field Stevenson. And so obviously Betsy Ross came up as a part of our plan. I always feel bad. I'm not ignoring you guys. It's just hard to, so I apologize that my back is always to you and I'm talking. But so the point really is we need to figure out what our next move is about Betsy Ross, not move, that's a bad term, but how we want to continue to talk about Betsy Ross. Is it fitting the community's needs? Is it still an appropriate place for our, does it best serve our purposes? So it's not something that we need to talk about necessarily today, but I didn't want, certainly we haven't forgotten as a board that this is something that though we decided not to move forward with, in the spring, it is still something that we would like to continue to discuss and I think find out how to best incorporate some voices from our community, which we did. There were plenty of times, opportunities for people to contribute. So one of the things that came out of my conversation with Mr. Hubbard 2 weeks ago, I think, was using a better grasp of data around birth rates, enrollment numbers, all of that to try to get a better handle on that, which obviously we had considered, but I think putting that back into the discussion as we try to figure out Betsy, obviously seeing where we land numbers-wise this year for enrollment's really important, not just for Betsy, but across the district. And so I'll stop talking there, and if anybody has anything that they would like to add as we just kind of wrap our arms around this. Any ideas that people wanted to put out there in terms of how we move forward, continue anything about this?
Just one thing that came up during the discussions when we're talking earlier this spring, specifically about Betsy, and this is one of the things that I think had a big impact, at least on the way I voted when we were talking about it, was because we have this large special ed population there. I think there are a lot of considerations going into like space planning and things like that. So I'm sure we can figure out what we need to do. I just want to make sure that we are basically, especially the special ed teachers, getting them in there to walk through the spaces with us and let us know what they want. And I'm sure that's already happening, but I just want to make sure that everybody listening to this knows that we're thinking about that.
Yeah. Well, just to be clear, nothing has happened since we had our public hearings and then our vote. So, which makes sense, right? Summer's happened. We have a shift in our administration. And so we've got some other things to be thinking about. And we're adjusting to a bigger field with more students. So nothing has happened quite yet, but I appreciate that. Yeah. Anything else that people would like to consider as we just think about this?
I don't know if consideration, but hearing about the space issue was new to me, so I'd like to personally stop by once or twice to kind of check it out and see what the concerns were and the spaces were, because it was really kind of hard for me to understand. So I would like to go and visually see what the issues were that people spoke about.
Great, thanks.
I would say the same as Shannon, like look at what's happening in Betsy and also with the change with moving the kids over to the field to see.
Yeah.
Take a second to look at how that's working, what's happening, just that dynamic of what's happening at Field Stevenson and getting a handle on that. And looking at that before making other changes, just seeing how that's working out, and having more discussion around that before moving forward and, again, bringing all those teachers in and seeing what their ideas of when we move the kids over, what is or is not working in field. It could, if it's going absolutely great, okay, what is working there, what's not working there, taking both into consideration while we're making decisions.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, I do. Definitely, we need to consider the space issue. I know that was a hot button during our topics and our conversations during the public hearings, and we kind of never really addressed that. We just kind of left that out there. And I think we should take a serious look at the plan that was initially put together and kind of reevaluate it and see if it's going to be feasible going into the 23, 24 year, if that is what we're going to do. So.
Got it. Thank you. Anything else? You thought? Oh, yeah. And then you can go. Go ahead.
I don't remember if it was discussed. Did we look at, like, if there would be a change, like traffic patterns with if the kids were in the field, how would that affect traffic in the area? Like with all parents coming to one building? Because, like, I'm across the street, like, I know, get out at a certain time or
Sure.
you're stuck. Like, did we look at that before? I don't really remember.
We didn't look at it because remember, Field has held many more students than were enrolled last year, right? So this is, our current number is
That's
not.
right, that's right.
It
Okay.
may seem more trafficked to us because it will be, but it's not traffic that hasn't been seen,
You're right.
if that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay. In a way that I think now, it is going to be busier, so people should plan for that and give themselves some extra time at the beginning of school, right? Everybody should do that for any of our buildings to get used to it, but I don't see it really impacting, our ability.
I do forget that point. Like, it's
Yeah.
been not even in a long span of time. So
Right,
it's not-
70 kids. I don't know how many of them are coming over, but yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Dr. A?
Yeah, I just want everyone to consider bringing in Principal Huff and the teachers into conversation with anything. That's all I wanted to just mention. As we start looking at the building, having discussions about it, that they are involved and have something to say in regards to it too. That's
Yeah,
all.
Sure. So I think it feels like maybe our first order of business is to have, and we have a new board member, right? So to see if we can organize a time where we can have a really in-depth look at the building. Maybe Principal Huff, you can be there, maybe Mr. Laudadio as our facilities manager. We can figure out who makes the most sense, but look at it again with fresher eyes. And also an additional perspective. So maybe that's our first order of business that we can figure out.
And you're thinking about when children are in session, correct?
I think ideally, but I know I would like to, but I know for some of us it's hard to get there during the day. So let's think on that.
Okay.
Okay. Let me make a note. Okay. That's really, thank you. I just wanted to restart the conversation, so we'll continue to talk about this as we move through the year. Okay. B, Dr. Alvarez, safe return to in-person instruction and continuity of services plan.
So because of the pandemic, this is now a requirement. Last year, we did present this during this time. It was called a different name. This is now just safe return to in-person instruction and continuity of service plan. There is a link that we are going to be posting on the website. It is about 9 pages long, but what I will do instead of scrolling through it is kind of give the highlights that are in the protection and guidance. So for mask requirement, we're keeping it at mask, highly recommended or encouraged for adults and students. The administrators and myself will continue to wear masks, and then masks are still going to be required on the buses. For social distancing, we, as much as possible, doing the 3 feet and abstaining from any type of really physical content as much as possible, including like the handshakes, the high fives or hugs. But if so, because I know how much we are very social, we want to make sure we're washing our hands using hand sanitizer as much as possible. Vaccinations, all staff are asked to provide vaccination status that has started last year. We do still have those. And then parents of unvaccinated students asked to allow students to participate in opt-in COVID testing. This is something that's going to be different. So last year we used Shields. This year we're going to be using TNS testing. I forgot TNS, S&T. I'm getting it. S&T labs. And this is different. It will just be a swab. It'll be much easier for our kindergartners because for the other one, it was very difficult. It's not easy to go into that tube. Yeah, our poor babies. So we wanted to look for something easier, just a quick swab. And then we're following the CDC recommendations. So there was something that was just put out regarding quarantine. We're waiting for them to give us a little bit more recommendations. There is going to be a webinar coming next week that being quarantined may be eliminated. So we're waiting on that. And then preventions. That's the one I just mentioned, a new testing program of S&T labs. There is an opt-in form. If you want that for your child, you do have to opt in. If an unvaccinated student or staff member is identified, that's the close contact, we're looking at for the quarantine right now of 5 days, but that may be taken out, and we will adjust this form once it comes out. Regular hand washing again, hand sanitizing. We are saying if you feel ill, if you feel sick, stay home. And then, as you can see, our building cleanliness continues. Ventilation continues. They have done a really great job here, cleaning all of our schools. Our safety, all staff must wear IDs, which is what I'm wearing right now. That's part of, for safety. Middle schoolers also must be wearing IDs. There are support numbers on their IDs. That is a requirement. And then families must call schools to arrange a meeting. We will be allowing families in. Visitors will be buzzed in. They must state their business and then allowing the families to come in. They must wear a yellow visitor pass so that we're not just having families walk around. People will know they're allowed to be here with the visitor pass. And then we mentioned about our police being often here. Along with that, bus routes will be developed and schedules provided to parents who requested this, who have indicated they're interested in the transportation services. And so that's really the bulk highlights of this protection and guidance.
Thank you. I have a couple questions. So one, are we doing close contact anymore? Like,
that's going to be part.
Kira's kid gets COVID. She's Monique's daughter's seatmate. Is that still happening?
That's what's coming out right now. And so
Okay.
what they're saying right now is they can come to school, but they must wear a mask.
The affected student or
Yes.
the close contact?
The affected student
Yes.
would have to wear a mask instead of being quarantined as well.
Yes.
And then they were saying for 10 days, that's at least what I've read.
Okay.
But I'm waiting for further guidance. And again, that should be coming out next week.
Okay, but we're not sure if my kid tests positive, it's hard to even say, goes to school masked, that then the rest of the class or a close contact would know. Like, that the nurse
Correct.
we're not sure about that. Okay, got it.
Yeah. They may just eliminate the close
The
contact
close contact
altogether.
Okay, got it, thank you. And then, does that mean, if quarantining doesn't change, will remote instruction still be offered?
Currently, right now, the guidance is saying that we're providing remote instruction.
Okay.
If it changes, that would be taken out.
Okay. So it would just be, kids are out sick?
If they're sick, they're sick, correct.
Okay, thank you. Got it.
Dr. Alvarez?
Yes.
Real quick question. Some of the things that we put into place last year around just keeping kids separate and safe, like dens at the middle school, are we going to be going back to a normal cadence?
Good question. Yeah, we are going back to where we were before so that children can at least move around. We're keeping the social distancing as of right now. As you can see, for our middle school, we only have 77 students. There's plenty of room right now, and the classrooms are small as well, small class sizes.
Thank you.
And then I'm leaving this up for any public comment, so for anyone who's in the audience if you have anything to ask about the safe return to in-person and continuity of service plan. And if there isn't any, we're going to be posting this on the website, and we'll adjust it once we hear further regarding quarantining and close contact.
Got it. And I assume too, maybe talking about this at open houses, so everybody's, which will be in person this year.
Yep. Everyone will have that document
Okay.
as well.
Thank you.
And yes, and they will be in person. I'm excited about that.
Me too. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Dr. Hubbard? We'll start
you
with
want-
one, the FY 2023 draft budget.
Okay, good luck with that.
That was fast. I go back to the. I can stay on here for now. So the previous slide, good evening, Madam President, board members, and Dr. Alvarez. The previous slide talked about the FY23, just had a link to it. Some of the highlights that I just want to point out to it. We have to remember that this is a tentative budget. It's going to be on display for 30 days. The final budget will be approved next month at the board meeting. There will definitely be revisions to the budget. As you heard, we're looking to hire some new staff. We're looking to bring in some new things. And we're also looking at cost adjustments that we need to make to the budget. So those are things coming. Some of the major changes that may be coming that I want to point out. Normally in previous years, we averaged about $100,000 in interest from our investments. Last year was only about $3,000 just because of the interest rates and the economy and everything. So that's an adjustment we need to make in our revenue. So there's still some figures that are coming in and some tax figures that are coming in. And so that's where we're going to be adjusting the revenues and the expenditures. You will have a final budget next month presented for you to approve. Some other changes that we need to make, we are going to be talking a little bit later on today and in closed session about camera options. We're looking to provide camera options here in the middle school in Field Stevenson. So that cost that be figured into the budget. We're also looking to provide new safety measures on our school buses because we're going to be transporting more students. We're in the process of getting quotes to put cameras on our school buses. So then we have those on there. It's something that some of the bus drivers and the aides have been asking for some time. So that's going to be another adjustment to the budget. So once we have those figures, hopefully we get them by next month. Some other adjustments and proposed salary adjustments. We're talking about salaries later on today. And then also we're still looking to fill some vacancies. As Dr. Alvarez mentioned, we hope to finalize those interviews next week and make some offers. So I have some recommendations to hire for the next board meeting. Then I got to factor those salaries into the budget also. As a reminder, the budget will have a public hearing on September 8th at 6:30 for any public comment. So just want to remind people of that and that this is tentative. So that's it for the budget, if there's any questions in regarding that.
So just to clarify, budget starts at 6:30, meeting starts at 7? Yeah,
Yes.
okay, okay, great, thank you. I wasn't sure if we were going to do 6:30 or move it up, so, okay.
We're open, we can do that. We could make that change if the board wants to do that. That's fine.
Since 6:30 we normally start, normally 6 o'clock budget?
I can't remember, do you, either you or Jeanette remember last year, did we move it?
Last year's agenda had 6:30 and then 7 o'clock the meeting
Okay,
started.
let's just keep it there. I think it's
Okay.
easier, actually, I think it's easier for some of our board members, gives them a little buffer time.
Okay. So yeah, that
Thank you.
time and date got off last year, so we looked at last year's agenda.
Okay,
So,
thank you so much.
any other questions regarding the budget? Okay. And as the next item on there was about the cameras, but I already mentioned that we are looking to get quotes for cameras and provide 3 quotes to the board, hopefully at the next board meeting, or if not, the October board meeting. And then the next thing on the agenda was for me to talk about my 100-day plan, just like Mr. McKinney talked about his 100-day plan. It's something that Dr. Alvarez really wants us to focus on to make sure that we're aligning our plans and our goals with the strategic plan for 2026 for the board. So I have 3 goals that were identified. One is just establishing trusting relationships. I've had the pleasure of meeting with some of the board members, most of the administration already, and just going around meeting with the staff, having one-on-ones, and really engaging people and finding out what we can do to really make their job easier. So having those trusting relationships, establishing them with people. The second goal is to really do a deep dive and make sure we provide equitable opportunities for all students. So really looking at our finances and seeing how we distribute the funds across our schools, across our different subgroups of students, and seeing how we could better do that. With the consolidation of one school and starting a discussion of Betsy Ross this year, really make sure I can present data to the board that looks at those enrollment trends, look at the financial breakdowns of resource allocations, and see that we did make an investment in a new software system that helps us do some data analytics. So really looking forward to doing that and providing that information to the board throughout this year so you can make an informed decision. And lastly, really collaborating with Dr. Alvarez and the team here to make sure that we provide transparent two-way communication to the community and establish really new partnerships. There's a lot of great opportunity and growth happening in Forest Park, so how do we leverage that growth and leverage those resources so we can provide more opportunities for our students? So those are the three goals I'm focusing on. Here's just an outline of some of the benchmarks that I'm looking to hit during that time, during that first 100 days, to really make sure that I hit those goals. So having those one-on-ones is one of them, really engaging with family and communities. I'm looking forward to when school starts in a couple of weeks to really be out there in the schools and meeting and talking to kids and seeing what are their needs. Because the kids will tell you what they want. Like, we want this, we want these opportunities, and we're not providing. So then how can we leverage our resources to get those opportunities? And seeing how things flow and operations flow across the district, so make sure we maximize that. And then lastly, just really meeting with people and getting to know them and seeing. So we have some meetings planned and opportunities to grow. So didn't want to go over all those, but I want to make sure you had those benchmarks to see what I'm looking forward to.
I think it would be great if you and Mr. McHale could come back maybe November, December, and walk us through some highlights from the 100-day plan. We can maybe make some plans for that.
That's a great idea.
Okay, great, thanks.
And then just to come like plan of, so talking to Dr. Alvarez at the end, seeing what are the next steps and making another plan for the rest of the year to see how we can continue to move forward and hit those benchmarks. And we look forward to coming to the board, whether December or January, and talking with you and sharing some of the highlights and maybe the plan for the remainder of the school year.
Sure.
So.
Sounds good. Excited.
Next thing on the agenda is ESSA 3 proposal and public discussion. So in 2020, the world was turned upside down with this pandemic. The federal government came through and provided some additional funding to help out different school districts. So I'm going to talk about our ESSA 2 and ESSA 3 funds. Our ESSA 1 funds, which when it came out was called the CARES Act, those funds have already been expended. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that also. So in FY20, we received $186,000 in ESSA 1, FY21, $703,000, FY22, $1.5 million. Okay. As I said, we've already expended our ESSA 1 funds. When those funds came out, no one knew what this pandemic was going to bring. So when the federal government released those funds, there really was not that many guidance around. Is that here's some money, make sure you provide a safe environment for kids. So what we did with those funds, we spent $87,000 on salary to provide summer school and instructional assistance that first year, $48,000 on the technology infrastructure improvements in the district to really make sure we had the technology resources to do remote learning. We spent about $25,000 on online subscriptions for our curriculum so we can have kids work from home and do some things, and then $25,000 on PPE and cleaning supplies. That was with that first round of funding that came out that happened in 2020. Any questions in terms of that?
Why the large dollar amount for salaries? Like, what was the extra work being done?
My understanding, that was for the summer school teachers and instructional aides that did, I don't know if it was a remote learning that we had summer school then, so that covered their salaries for that.
Thank you.
No problem. So we have to talk about our ESSA 2 and ESSA 3 funds, and before we can even spend those funds, we have to have a public hearing. this public hearing was supposed to happen in 2021. It did not happen, but we're happening it now so we can make sure we can expend these funds and apply for this grant before they expire next fiscal year. So currently we have these funds and we'll be able to use them as long as we host this public hearing. This is the district's proposal on how to allocate that $703,000. We're looking to invest a little bit more in technology, get 116 new devices. It's about $75,000. Looking to really have a robust summer and extended learning opportunities. Dr. Alvarez is really focused on making sure we have a robust, full-blown STEAM programs after school, looking to provide that Monday through Friday and put their structures in place for that. So that's for some contractual services and supplies, about $127,000. And then address any learning loss. So looking for salaries, we've hired 4 instructional coaches this year. So paying for those salaries out of the grant for this year to really move teaching and learning. And then lastly, still focusing on our PPE, making sure we have, oh no, that last one there is for air quality. Dr. Alvarez talked about how we continuously improve air quality. When I spoke to our superintendent of buildings and grounds, he talked about there's still some AC units that need to be updated and repaired. So we made sure we put the money in there for that. It's $110,000. So that is the district's proposal to expend the ESSA 2 funds. Any questions? Yes.
One question for the address the learning loss for salaries. I just want to be clear, these are positions that we were gonna be hiring anyway to address needs in the district, but now we just have somebody else to pay for it essentially.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And we have someone else to pay for them not only this fiscal year, but next fiscal year also. And then we have it in our budget to absorb those salaries.
Thank you.
Any other questions about the ESSA 2 funds?
When does the public hearing have to happen, and when are we going to vote on it? Do you have a sense of that?
For the plan, my understanding, no votes needed. We just have to have a public hearing and get public input. And
Got
then
it.
after we have the public input, we submit the date that we had the public input, and then we submit these plans to
Okay.
the state, and then they approve them or deny them.
Okay. I would love a little bit more detail at some point with the second line of summer and extended learning opportunities.
I give you a little more detail. So we've been meeting with different vendors that provide after-school dance classes, after-school STEM classes, parent career certification classes for different coding and programming, different vendors that provide digital media classes for students. So we're looking at different vendors like that and seeing what opportunities we could bring. We also want to make sure we connect with the Forest Park Theater Group to see what opportunities they may be able to provide. So just getting robust programs and bring them in.
Got it. Thanks.
Any other questions?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I thought right as you were switching it. Can you switch back? It was the last one about air quality. That's not just about air conditioners, right? I'm assuming that's also about filters and
Yes.
things like that, right? Okay.
Yes.
And is that in all of our buildings?
Those funds were allocated for 2 buildings.
Two
Phil
buildings.
Stevenson and Grant White had some issues that needed to be addressed.
Right, because we are still utilizing Grant White
Yes.
for, okay,
So those funds were just for Phil Stevenson and Grant White.
okay. Thank you.
Yes.
So I'm sorry, I did have one question on the previous slide. With regard to some of the summer and extent, oh no, I'm sorry.
Oh, can we go back to the previous slide? I can't go back.
Right there, yes.
Yes.
So summer and extended learning opportunities, these are just summer, or is this going to be extending into like after-school programs and things like
Extended
that?
to after school. So we're looking to get a after-school program started this year and then extend it into the summer this fiscal year.
So is that in addition to whatever stipend activities we have going on?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Here is the district's proposal for our ESSA 3 fund, so the 1.5 and some change million dollars. Still investing heavily in technology, getting about 232 new devices for the district. That's a combination of Chromebooks, laptops, and iPads and other tablets. Really focusing on summer and extended learning opportunities again next fiscal year. So really growing that program, that after-school program and the summer program, in addition to the stipend opportunities we provide. And then addressing learning loss, we're able to put into our coaches, some social workers, and some professional development days for our staff, We're also looking to put in there some mentoring for new staff and also intervention training for ELA intervention. So focusing on that for all staff and provide some training for them. And then really looking to purchase a brand new STEM curriculum. So we're looking to invest heavily in that. I think we allocated $125,000 for that to do a full-blown K through 8 STEM curriculum, and allocated about $25,000 to purchase STEM equipment. And that'd be equipment that costs anything, capital equipment that costs anything more than $500. So really focusing on that and putting a plan into place this year to make sure we have that for next school year. In addition, we want to address health and safety. That's covering the PPE supplies and any cleaning supplies that we need and any cleaning equipment, and then also covering the salaries of some of our cleaning staff, because we brought on 2 additional cleaning staff that help out with wiping things down on a regular basis, all the common areas, doorknobs and handles and everything that students touch. And lastly, some professional learning. As I mentioned, we're really looking to find some vendors that provide work certification classes for parents after school, and make sure we can provide those opportunities free to parents, or maybe some English language learning classes for parents. So we make sure we set aside some of those funds for that, because that's allowable in the grant. Any questions? Yes.
Yeah, for the staff and parent university, can you give an example of what you mean about certification, like CNA training or Microsoft certificate? What do you mean?
Right now, the only vendor we met with was like Microsoft certification,
Okay.
C+ training,
Okay.
and different programming. But if there's any other vendors out there that we can meet to find, we're looking to explore those options.
Okay, and I'm assuming, I would like to see, I should say, STEM curriculum across the district, right? So it's not just for kids 3rd grade and up
K to
or whatever,
8.
that it's K to 8, pre-K, we have pre-K. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Lyons.
So can you talk a little bit more about the technology piece? Because I know we just spent considerable amount of money over this past year buying brand new Chromebooks, and then spent a good chunk of money buying these new screens that you're seeing here. And then you're talking about buying a total of 348 new Chromebooks. I'm assuming those are to replace broken ones?
Replace broken ones. So we spent about a little over $50,000 on technology and Chromebooks and devices, but we trickled down some of the older ones that we had to our younger staff in different grade levels. So it's getting us on a plan to refurbish them every couple of years, because they only last 3 to 4 years. So this gets us on that plan to do that.
Okay. And so you got $200,000 set aside for that. What other technology are you guys looking at? Because I mean, we invested pretty heavily over this past year already.
And I think that's a fun thing, the opportunity to see it. I know I need to work with our network coordinator. I know we're talking about changing and seeing what other technology we can provide, because we know we need some more technology in some of the other schools in terms of presentation technology, or maybe it's cameras to really improve the presentation aspect. But right now we're exploring those options. So we haven't hammered out a plan in terms of what we're going to really go with in terms of the technology.
So if I understand this correctly, this is just basically the budgeting that you're allocating towards each one of those funds.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. No? Any other questions?
Yes, I just want to say I am ridiculously excited to see budgeting towards Wilson training, because it's just great, and I think it should be done, and money should be put to it, because it's the greatest training in the world. Maybe not the world, but just excited to see it, because I know to get a tutor that's trained in it is ridiculously expensive for a parent to pay for. Like, goes into the hundreds of dollars an hour to get someone certified in it. If your child needs help tutoring, and not everyone can afford that, so to have teachers trained in it, where you can just send your kid to the public school and teachers are certified and trained in it, is amazing and awesome. And I am very happy to see that that is going to be budgeted to have teachers trained in it.
Any other questions?
Can you say the name of the program again? It got a little lost.
Wilson training.
Thank you. Did anybody else? I would really love, and this maybe can be in our next board packet or something, just a little bit more detail behind these, if that's possible.
Yes.
I think John asked a really good question about the technology. We did get like a bunch of new smart boards. We got new printers. We got a bunch of new stuff. And I know that Chromebooks are being more heavily used right now, pandemic, post-pandemic, I don't know where we are anymore. But they're being a lot, they're, right? Like they just get worn out more quickly. So I think just a little bit more detail around these would be great.
Okay.
When you're putting that together, one of the questions I had just looking at this and as you're talking through it, I'd be really curious what proportion of this is actually attributable directly to either direct COVID-related stuff or stuff that's kind of slop over, hey, we had to do these extra things, and what proportion of it is somebody else is just paying for stuff that we would otherwise be doing. It's like the Chromebooks, we're going to be doing that anyway, but now we have somebody else to pay for it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns? So the next part is to give the public an opportunity to any comment if the public has any. We will post this plan up on the website, so it is up there and displayed, so people can reference it and see it. So it will be posted up there.
Okay, that's great.
Okay.
Thank you. All right.
I don't think.
I don't think there are any public comments now. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. So let's go ahead and start to move into closed session. May I have a motion to move into closed session for the purpose of negotiation, employment compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of employees, and litigation, please? May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
And you know what, can we just do a voice vote for this? Can we do a roll call, please?
Ms. Vella?
Aye.
Mr. Lyons?
Aye.
Mr. Rommel?
Aye.
Mr. Brooks?
Aye.
Ms. Cotton? Aye. Ms. Wood?
Aye.
Ms. Tyler?
Aye. Okay, thanks. We're in closed session. All right, thank you. All right, let's get to, wait, hold on a second. Number 11, consent agenda items to discuss in closed session. So what we need to do actually is, I would like a motion to amend letter O, which is consider recommendation to approve FY 2023 compensation for instructional assistants to include and SSAs. May I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second it.
Thank you. A roll call, please.
Ms. Fallow,
Aye.
Mr. Lyons,
Aye.
Mr. Rummel,
Aye.
Mr. Brooks,
Aye.
Ms. Cotton, aye. Ms. Wood,
Aye.
Ms. Tyler.
Aye. Okay, thank you so much. All right, now let's go ahead and do a motion and a second and a roll call to actually approve the consent agenda items. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make it.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Fallow,
Aye.
Mr. Lyons,
Aye.
Mr. Rummel,
Aye.
Mr. Brooks,
Aye.
Ms. Cotton, aye. Ms. Wood,
Aye.
Ms. Tyler.
Aye. Okay, thank you. All right, number 12, items for action. Dr. Alvarez, you want to talk about the strat plan?
Yeah, this is in regards to hoping to get this finally just approved. It's been on our website for an entire year. We will begin amendments once we get any types of scores and also from our report cards. So we would add it to it every single time to show the adjustments and enrollments
Sure.
of data.
Okay. Anyone have any questions?
When do those numbers come out?
September, for some of them for IAR.
Any others? Okay. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. I'm so sorry. Give me 1 second. I think I need to redo that. Do I need to redo that, Jeanette? Because I did not, before you said it, I needed to say motion, second, discussion, roll, right? Okay. Hold on one second. I'm going to go back. May I have a motion for D91 Forest Park 2026 strat plan?
So moved.
A second, please.
Second.
Got it. Discussion. Which is,
Yeah.
go ahead. I'm so sorry. I realized that I really missed something. Okay. So Dr. Alvarez already said what this is about. Why don't we go ahead and do our roll call again, please?
Ms. Fallow,
Aye.
Mr. Lyons,
Aye.
Mr. Rummel,
Aye.
Mr. Brooks,
Aye.
Ms. Cotton, aye. Ms. Wood,
Aye.
Ms. Tyler.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Sorry, everybody. Okay. Number 2, consider Board of Education press policy revisions, additions, amendments for first reading. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
Discussion?
So this is a batch that came from press. We are planning to have our meetings, a calendar of meetings for our policy committee, so that we could start discussing. The batch just came in.
All right. Anyone have any questions? Okay. A roll call, please.
Ms. Fallow, aye. Mr. Lyons,
Aye.
Mr. Rummel,
Aye.
Mr. Brooks,
Aye.
Ms. Cotton, aye. Ms. Wood,
Aye.
Ms. Tyler.
Aye. Okay, very good. All right, Dr. Hubbard, so, this is consider recommendation to accept the proposal from ITR Systems for $27,995 to install cameras at Forest Park Middle School and Field Stevenson. I will make the motion. May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, go ahead.
Just wanted to share, we're looking to improve the safety and security at Field Stevenson and Forest Park Middle School. This would be for a total of 10 cameras. There'd be interior and exterior cameras. The recommendation is to go with ITR Systems because they currently use model our current security system, but also the other vendor, which was the least responsible vendor, originally did not provide prevailing wages. They resubmitted their proposal with prevailing wages, but the proposal also has a service agreement that has to be renewed every 3 years for the proprietary system. It's about $4,000 for that, so we didn't want to go with that.
Thank you. And we have currently no cameras, right?
Correct.
Right.
And this is just the beginning of the process. We're looking to expand and add additional cameras.
10 total?
Correct.
The one thing I want to make clear is that I know that it can feel like, oh my gosh, we're getting cameras, what's happening, blah, blah, blah. I think this is really about, acknowledging the times that we're living in, and trying our hardest to control our environment in a way that keeps our students and our staff as predictably safe as possible. So I want people to just keep that in mind, that this is really about truly safety as opposed to just surveillance. All right. If there are no questions, we'll go ahead and have a roll call. Okay.
Ms. Vallow?
Aye.
Mr. Lyons?
Aye.
Mr. Rummel?
Aye.
Mr. Brooks?
Aye.
Ms. Cotton? Aye. Ms. Wood?
Aye.
Ms. Tyler?
Aye. Okay. Now, so we're all set.
For the next two items, we're asking that the board table them to the next board meeting because we're still discussing those last two items.
Got it. Thank you so much. All right. I will make the motion to table items 2 and 3. May I have a second, please?
I will second. Sorry.
Who was that?
It was you.
Catherine.
Okay. Okay. May I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Vallow?
Aye.
Mr. Lyons?
Aye.
Mr. Rummel?
Aye.
Mr. Brooks?
Aye.
Ms. Cotton? Aye. Ms. Wood?
Aye.
Ms. Tyler?
Aye. Okay, thank you so much. All right, so we'll revisit those at a later time. Let's go to 13, additional matters for consideration from the board. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share?
I have a quick one. Forest Park Theater has a production of Inogen. It's behind the Altenheim. I went last week, and I really, really liked it. And even if you don't understand Shakespeare, the way that they act it out helps you understand. So this is their last weekend. They have it Friday night, tomorrow night, Saturday and Sunday at 5 p.m., and I really recommend it. It's free. Give donations. It's really great. They put their all into it, and I really enjoyed it. I'm going to go see it again.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I-
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry, was there someone else? I'm sorry.
I thought I saw somebody, but I think, no, you're good.
I just wanted to pay our respects to Valerie Jones. She was a crossing guard for us on Thomas and Jackson, and she passed away this summer. So if we could just, send our well wishes to the family as they, deal with this hardship right now.
Thank you, Liz. Okay, and then just a couple things that I wanted to just share. One, for the board, the Triple I conference is happening in November, and Jeanette would like us all to get in line whether or not we're going and figure out early registration. I highly recommend it. I'm hoping that I can make it. I have one thing I need to figure out. But so that's going to be happening in November. That's our Illinois School Board Conference. I realized that I had not prioritized our retreat in the midst of all of the things that we were doing. It totally fell off, so that's my apology. But who says we have to have a summer retreat? We can just move it into a different time. So Jeanette is going to be sending out a doodle to try to get some dates together. I'm excited to reconvene as a board, focusing on us for a little bit, particularly with our new members, so that's going to be great. And then I wanted to just quickly bring up the Bell Network. So I've been in communication with Bell about our equity work, And I know it's been brought up a number of times with a variety of board members, which I appreciate that they would like to have access to training. Only a few of us have gotten it. The majority of the board has not. One of the things that I'm sort of wrestling with a little bit is timing, because obviously we have elections coming up in the spring. And so, just trying to figure out, of course it makes sense to talk about this, but it's a resource that we have to expend. Do we want to do this, sometime this fall? Or do we want to wait to do it in the spring? So does anybody have any initial thoughts? It's a tough one. Go ahead.
What is the cost of this?
I don't remember what the cost is.
I don't even think she provided.
I think you're right. Because there's a couple of options. One would be for us to go to their facility, which is in Northern California. I said that's not likely, although I love Northern California. And then it would be coming in, which is what we did before. They came to us. They've had a staffing change. So they need to be intentional about fitting us in, but that's the other option.
I would almost lean, I want to say fall, but I think spring makes more sense. Like it almost does, just in case there are changes. Because you would capture, but like you're just waiting more, but you would capture anyone new if there were new people.
Sure, and then we can get ourselves maybe on a better cycle of every
Yeah.
2 years. But why don't we do this? I can get a figure for it and see what availability even is for this fall too. It's a little nebulous right now. And then I can come back to the board and we can have a further discussion about it. Because if it's not that much, then it's probably worth doing, but we have to figure out what our limit is. Okay. And the back to school event, which I'm excited about next Tuesday. So I hope to see lots of people there. Is there anything else? I know people are tired. Okay. I will make the motion to adjourn. May I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Okay, it is 9:47, meeting adjourned. See you all first day of school on the 23rd for our students. Back at it September 8th. Thank you.